TresAmigos, former football coaches turned insurance agents to talk about Texas Aggie football.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to Trace Amigos, episode 2511. This week we are blessed to have guest Brandon Leone, former fighting Texas Aggie running back in the early 2000s time frame, to join us today. But before we get going, I just want to say two things. One, thanks for everybody that listens, shares, likes, comments on our YouTube channel. We have really started catching some traction. Appreciate that. Last week's episode had over 2,600 views, and we added another 185 subscribers. So, man, if you can subscribe, if you can share it with your friends, we'd really like to hit 1,000 subscribers for the end of the year. And if we're getting 2,600 views, I'm sure there's plenty of folks listening, just not hitting that subscribe button. So sure would appreciate if you could do that. And I just want to mention one comment. I've got a 6-year-old boy at the house. I got 2 daughters that play volleyball, but the 6-year-old is starting to get into football. And I had a gentleman comment on YouTube and said that him and his son are getting into football. His son's playing his first year of tackle football, and that they like to listen to our podcast on the way home because the young man likes to listen and learn about the actual X's and O's of the game. So that was a cool deal to see that dad comment that. So I really appreciate that. So, and then I'm going to kick it to Seth, because Seth texted me during the LSU game and said that he was recognized in Death Valley for our podcast, which was a pretty cool moment for me, because when we started, I didn't think anybody would recognize us out of our small little town. So Seth, tell us about that, boss.
Oh, we were up in the upper deck in the end zone. Somebody walking up. We were on the aisle, so we got to talk to a lot of people. And one of my buddies is very talkative. Likes to talk to other people a lot, whether it's a little bit of crap or whatever. So we were a little worried going into Death Valley with him on the trip, but we made it out alive. So, well, it helps whenever you score 35 unanswered. That helps a lot. But,
Yeah, it
but
does.
anyway, yeah. So we're on the aisle, and some guy walking up. Hey, are you that podcast guy? And I was like, yes, I think so. Which podcast are you talking about? And he fired off Trace Amigos. So yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
cool. Got to talk to him and his dad just briefly. And then that spurred, so I got another great story that we had right there. So that spurred, we had a group of Aggies sitting behind us. All girls, looked like they just graduated or were seniors. And they were very, very into the game, very loud, very, very cool. They were into it. You know, it wasn't just there for a social gathering like sometimes it is. And anyway, after that happened, she said, "Wait, you have a podcast?" Gen Z people with the internet is. So I was like, "Yeah, it's small and all that." She goes, "Will you please mention us on the podcast?" So I'm doing that now, but it's because also there's a really cool story behind this. She is, she's got her Aggie ring on. And we get to talking with her, and she tells us that she grew up in Baton Rouge. Her dad is an alum. They've had season tickets since she can remember.
Wow.
They've been coming to LSU games. And so we asked her, like, well, how did you wind up at A&M? And she said, well, I got accepted. She said LSU was the fallback plan.
There you go. There you go. That's awesome.
So she says that, her dad is an LSU or whatever. The funny story is this all got brought up because in third quarter, this guy comes walking up the stairs. He's got a LSU polo on, a rain jacket, and an A&M dad hat. It's her dad. He squeezes in and sits with him for a little bit, and he's talking with him and catching up. And he taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, man, you want an ice cream sandwich?" Most random. I go,
"Yes, I do."
Yeah, actually, that sounds great. Yeah. So he hands me one, and he hands one to my 2 buddies that are with me too. And I turn around, and all 8 of those girls are eating ice cream sandwiches. He done brought like 10 or 11 from the Zone Club where his tickets are now.
Oh my god!
She tells us so after he leaves, she tells us, "Yeah, my dad does this every time me and my girlfriends come to this game. We've been coming to it. He gets us these seats, and then he brings us ice cream sandwiches in the third quarter. Been doing it since we were freshmen.
That's
coming
awesome.
To this game. I was like, oh, that's
awesome.
Cool." So she was telling me. So then we start talking about. She had apparently just done this, so she started asking us our ring dunk times and all that stuff. So we started talking about the Aggie ring. And she said, yeah, my dad actually was so touched by how much that meant to me and the rest of A&M, that even though he's an LSU alum and a season ticket holder and all that, he actually started an Aggie ring scholarship in his name.
Wow.
So that's pretty
That's
stinking cool.
awesome.
Right
That
there.
is awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. So anyway, yeah. So it was really neat to interact, and that ice cream sandwich really hit the spot because I finished the last bite right when Concepcion was catching the punt.
There we
There
go.
you go. There you go.
Perfect
And
time.
right after that, I was like, is this like heaven? Ice cream, Bluebell ice cream sandwich, and watching Casey Concepcion return a punt.
There
So
you
anyway.
go. Well,
Yeah.
and Brandon, to bring you up to date, we have a group text usually going throughout the game, us three, and at the end of the game, Mark texted and said, "I don't know what we need to do, but somehow we need to get Seth to all the away games because Seth went to the Notre Dame game and he went to the
Yeah.
LSU game, and so
Absolutely.
yeah, he's living right, I guess, and we appreciate his contributions there. So
Yeah, I support that for sure.
yeah, Mark.
Tell us. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Mark, tell us
didn't
about
run
yourself
over
real
here.
quick, and then we'll get rolling.
Well, I am Mark Brown. I have a Rollo office here in Carthage, Texas. Coached for 25 years. Fortunate enough to be at Carthage for about 10 of those, and I think I ended up with about 6 rings out of that. So just very fortunate. Spent a lot of my college time at the University of North Texas, where we lost all over the country, including Death Valley one night. I think picked off the opening. We ran a now to start the game against them. They picked it off, ran it back for a touchdown. So it was 7-0 with 14 minutes, 50 seconds left on the clock. So yeah, and it didn't get any better. So but yeah, I never thought as a defensive coach I would be the voice of reason, but being on the group text, Matt, Matt pretty much the version of Brian Kelly. If someone makes a mistake, you are the worst human being on the planet. We had Rick fired after, like, yeah, let's fire the got right.
Well, thank goodness they didn't get those comments because he made a really good play on the 4th down to end it. So
Yeah, get him off the field. I'm like, no. I think cooler heads need to prevail here.
Absolutely.
Well, Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm sure a lot of Aggies already know, but you graduated from Oak Ridge, went to A&M, played under Coach Fran. Is that correct?
Yeah, signed with Coach Slocum in his last class in 2002 with, Reggie McNeil, Chad Schrader, Archie McDaniel, Johnny Jolly, some of those guys. And that was just a huge blessing for me. I had a single mom growing up majority of my life, and so we weren't necessarily upper class or anything like that. And so I loved A&M as a kid, and even when offers started coming in, I always had it in my heart that if the Aggies offered, I would jump on it. And so having RC and Kevin Sumlin and Sean Slocum kind of recruiting Houston and East Texas together, got to know those guys. And man, RC, I know you guys all know this. RC is just a phenomenal man. And for me, I wasn't as, crazy big time 5-star recruiter or anything, but I had a good amount of offers and did really well in high school. But I was looking for someone that was going to lead and shepherd me because I grew up without a father. And RC came to visit me after I had committed the summer before my senior season, and my mom was having a tough day with substance abuse. And I didn't know RC's story at all. I didn't know what he had gone through growing up in Orange. And he pulled me to the side and we hung out just by ourselves outside and just talked life. Like, we didn't talk football at all. We had already had those conversations, obviously leading up to that, but just seeing him like get down on my level and have empathy, I'm like, this guy is a leader of men. Like, this is someone, football is just a vessel, right? Like, it's just an amazing sport that can open up other opportunities for you. And RC showed me that he cared for me. And so it was a big bummer when we lost him, and then ended up playing for Franchione after that, those next 4 years. But just even that short time with him and the recruiting process, like he stood out as a man among men for sure. And it was really a huge blessing for me and changed my life for sure.
Yeah, we were blessed to have him on our podcast. I think it was week 4. If I can't, I'd have to go back and look.
It was unbelievable how awesome that
Man,
was.
just I could have talked to him for hours. We would ask one little simple question, and he would go off and tell these great stories about all this stuff.
It was,
And I'm
yeah.
sitting there, I was a peon little high school coach for 12 years, and I'm just thinking, man, I'm getting to
we don't even. Yeah.
I'm getting to chop it up with RC Slocum, who, I know you were the same way. We're around the same age, but man, in the 90s, that dude had that place rolling. And I think I told them at the end of the game, this season so far, knock on wood. But this season so far is as close as I've seen to those early 90s teams with Coach Slocum.
Without a doubt.
I know we had the 2012 season where Johnny was Johnny, and that was a special year and all that. And we had the 2021 season, where the COVID year or whatever. But as far as complimentary football and just playing sound defense, it's fun to watch. So,
Absolutely.
but for us, what we do is we'll get in and we'll break down the LSU game. We'll go offense first this time. We went defense first against Arkansas because Mark had plenty to say on that one. But
Right.
They only let you go first whenever it's bad.
Right.
And it's like, hey, off.
Oh man! Well, you coached at Carthage for all those years with Surratt. You know offense is going to go first, brother. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So usually we go good, bad, and ugly on the offense, but I'm going to put in an excellent because I was watching it again on replay this morning. I'm still trying to get over Ashton Bethel Roman's catch over the middle. The athleticism of that kid, and he's got it on repeat. He's running full speed to his right and jumps up, one hands it behind him and keeps his momentum, lands on his feet and keeps going. It would have been a great catch if he just catch it and fall down right there. But to be able to catch that one-handed, and if you go the still frame on the next one, Seth, I mean, what is that like to be that athletic? That's what I sat back and I'm like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
what's it like to be able to do that? And that was just
hard. It's hard, Matt. I mean, it's hard. I wake up every morning like that.
Yeah. Tell us, Coach. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. I just and he's the number 3 guy right now. He's the number 3 guy. That's crazy to me.
That's what's encouraging to me, Matt, and I think that is, and I'm sure y'all have talked about it on a ton of your podcasts. We've talked about it some. Just the additions of Craver, of KC, the developments of the tight ends, having Morrow. We lose Moss last year, and it pretty much was our identity, was running the football with him. And Marcel was still not fully developed. The O-line, it's still the first year in the system. You can see how much this team has developed and the way that they've added the ability to have playmakers that are explosive. And we put so much stress on defenses and the development. I love that you're talking about ABR. His development and him being someone else that they have to account for is only going to create more pressure on these defensive coaches and open up so many things for Klein. So I agree with you, man. Between Arkansas and him flashing this ability right there, like this is a flash play that when you're watching tape, you're like, who the heck is that guy? We have to account for that guy.
Yeah.
And they're doing that. They're doing that every week, right? So that was a huge, huge play.
And I just got to add 2 things to this. Like, first off, Marcel Reed is a psycho in a good way because that throw was psychotic. That it was across the grain against LSU. You don't do that and complete it. You know what I mean? And so, like, that was awesome. And I'm not meaning that in a bad way. I mean, he executed it. He dropped it right over the defender's head. We've talked about that 2 ball on here before. One of the best thrown 2 balls I've ever seen him make. And then on top of that, let's watch Mark Nabu over and over again in pass pro here. I'm just going to keep going back and forth to restart this thing. Watch him manhandle the LSU linebacker with his right arm only.
Yeah, with one hand. Yeah.
That is just like we were bullying LSU in Death Valley, guys. It's like dream material,
Well, go back to that still photo. I was going to show because you say you don't do it against LSU. This is why you don't. Look at the vertical on that guy. That's not just some guy. That's just not some guy. That guy is athletic as well, and that's why you don't do that. But that goes further to show how crazy that was.
Absolutely. Well, and even watching Marcel work that pocket, rolling out away from the pressure, and his presence has increased significantly compared to last year. And so just the development across the board for this team has been so impressive this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So going on to the good, and I said that this would be my prediction for player of the game. I picked the running back room. So you spoke on it, Brandon. Last year, Moss goes down. Like you said, that was who we hung our hat on, and it hurt the team significantly. And don't get me wrong, would I rather have number 8 in the backfield? Absolutely, that dude's a beast. But that running back room still had 98 yards on 20 carries using 4 different running backs. They also added 24 yards in receiving. And Morrow, who's a freshman, doesn't play like a freshman, but he is a freshman, had a running rushing and receiving touchdown. And this is what I love about what Trooper Taylor does, man. This is Daniels. This kid's a senior. He could easily transfer to any school he wanted to transfer to and probably been a starter at most schools. And he's our fourth back, third or fourth, depending on what the rotation they got. And look at how he finishes this run.
Correct.
I showed it in the Arkansas game. He caught a swing pass out of the backfield and how physical he was. But look at how he finishes this run. He just lowers that shoulder and just trucks that guy. And that kid, I mean, just the unselfishness of that room, how they all come in, and when it's their time, they all run so physical. You don't have any let up in any of the four of them on physicality. And that's something that, Scott Surratt used to always harp on the kids pregame. We're not going to get out physicaled. We are not going to get out physicaled, and you see that from our running backs, and just love how physical they are running the ball. But also, if you'll show the other clip, other than running the ball, and you know this, Brandon, better than we do, being a running back, but blitz pickup is huge. Huge. We can't trust you if we can't trust you picking up. Watch Smith pick up that linebacker coming in there and gives that quarterback a clean pocket. He gets it to Casey, and Casey does what Casey does and takes a 5-yard run and makes it a 20-yard run. But without that pickup, and he doesn't hesitate, he steps right in there and hits that dude square in his mouth, squares him up, and 10 can't do anything with it. So I just love how physical our running backs are, and that was my good, both running the ball and obviously blitz pickup. So,
and the other thing, Matt, that I think speaks huge to that running back room is a lot of times guys will have a talented running back that hasn't adjusted to pass pro, that hasn't put the time in film and really understanding when they're making adjustments at the line of scrimmage, defense is disguising. Like you said, the confidence of sliding, he knew exactly who he was supposed to block. He stepped up, hit him right in his chest. But what I was going to say that I think has been impressive about them is every one of those guys, including Morrow, have stepped in there and been confident in pass pro. A lot of times you have running backs that they know if they're in the game that they're either going to get the ball or they're going to be used in pass game. And so now that we have a deep running back room that can all run the ball physically, can all break open a big play, but they can also pass pro, again, that's more stress on the defense because you can't just say, oh, Morrow's coming in, it's a screen or it's going to be a draw or something off tackle. They don't know because they can all pass pro. So they could be in there on pass pros. And so that, again, further developing and opening the ability for the offense to execute at a high level.
Absolutely. Seth, what did you have that was good that night other than your ice cream sandwich?
Man, that was the best ice cream sandwich I've ever eaten. And then that's saying a lot. So a lot of reps with the ice cream sandwiches. But you nailed it like that. We keep saying that D word, right? And that's one of the most exciting things is development. But I want to take a second and so people have their thing like Star Wars and Avengers, and I have film. That's what I like to do. And I have these offensive coordinators that I'll go pull up and start watching their stuff. And I was on the Klein train before Klein was even hired at Kansas State. I've been a huge fan of what he does. And he was in his bag doing some, because I will have to say, like, some of the stuff he did at Kansas State, like he did more variety at Kansas State, if that's the word I'm looking for. And it was out of necessity. You got to do a little bit more if you don't have as much. And then you simplify down if you've got a lot. And he's got a lot here. But he was back in his bag the other night. And one of the very first touchdown was one of the coolest schemes I've ever seen. In the game, I told my boys, I go, that was a designed situation. And so let's just start with the base play that's been around for probably 50 or 60 years called the sprint draw. It's a constraint to the sprint out pass where you sprint out. The running back is usually the lead blocker. You just hand it back off to him against the grain. Your O-line blocks draw. You take that concept and you apply it without the running back, and that's how we score the first touchdown. Just to go to it here, you'll see sprint out left, and instead of handing it back to the running back, he has one throw to make. It's not there. Run where the sprint draw hits. And we caught him in cover one, and it was adios. So I think his read there is probably Craver. I know people have said, well, KC was breaking open. KC's on a runoff route right
there.
He's
just
brother, you get that safety to cover you. I think he had Mario Craver. That was his shot. If Craver had separation for the first down, let it rip. If it ain't there, run sprint draw. And boy, and then you got Harold Perkins over pursues a little bit, loses his eye discipline right there. It's one of the biggest things if you watch LSU's defense that they don't do very well is eye discipline. He takes his eyes off Marcel for just a second, and that is literally the exact moment Marcel decides to take off, and it's over. So yeah, and
Absolutely.
this is kind of what you see. The offensive line is blocking it that way on purpose. They have been repping this to get that sprint draw effect that opened up that gate, and it worked out in spades. I don't think they even thought it was going to be that good. This is a staple of Klein. We've seen going back to last year in the Bowling Green game. He tags a quarterback lead draw off of a curl concept. Okay, so this was one of the things I saw last year. This is early. This is Bowling Green. When Marcel wasn't even the starter yet. This was whenever he was in playing his backup. And same concept. You got one route to throw to the tight end right there on the curl. If it's covered, run the lead draw. Really cool way to we hear about RPOs all the time, and typically they're just off of some counter blocking scheme. But this is a really cool way to do. I'd almost call it a pass run option. Call it in backwards. You're looking for the pass first, and then going to take off a little bit later if the pass is not there. So a really cool scheme. The next thing was the false key screen on the Morrow touchdown, which what I mean by false key, watch our right guard, ARA, pull to set up a play action blocking scheme we had multiple times and multiple times against them in the jet motion as well. And you'll see on the replay there that it pulls the triangle of defenders, the safety and the linebacker, out of the play completely. That's why nobody's to block over there. I mean, we have nobody to block. And anyway, another great addition of a false key, how you scheme up an explosive. Like he schemes up 2 explosives for us in Death Valley. Once again, very cool. And then the most minor one, which I had a little slower motion off, and here you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, you just see right there the safety flying
showing
across,
Nike
the linebacker
protection.
flying across.
Showing that Nike protection, get these 3 guys flowing left. Yeah, it's a great design, no doubt.
Well, and this, to me, Seth, what they have done such a great job of, and you can tell this is good, not just the main coaches, but the analysts that are helping break down film. This is something they're doing to take advantage of a lack of eye discipline for these defenders at LSU. And I mean, Harold Perkins was guilty of it a ton, but you said it, the triangle, get those guys at the second level out of the play. And they did it on the first touchdown, running all those receivers. KC ran one vertical and then the other 2 fly all the way to our side. They just opened it wide open. And so a lot of people watching this aren't breaking film down like you guys. That's why I love what you guys are doing, because they're getting to see the scheme that goes into this. Obviously, it helps to have great athletes, but this is purposeful play calling, for a reason.
That's right.
Weaknesses that have been identified that they are taking advantage of, and the timing of his play calls have been so good. And even look at Marcel right here. Look at that throw, kind of sidearm, little Mahomes style, get it on the outside of that defender. I mean, this stuff has got to fire our fans up, because this is next level play calling.
Well, and if
Check
you
out Marcel's eyes, right after the snap too. His eyes are pulling. Everybody's on board. We're going to pull all those defenders out of this
100%,
play if we can.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you watch the press conference yesterday with Klein, he even said, we want to look and see what the weakness is of every single team we play. We go a week by week basis. We're going to watch that film, find the weaknesses, and figure out how to attack those weaknesses. And like y'all said, that's exactly what they saw, the eye discipline problems that LSU defense had, and said we're going to take advantage of it. So, yeah, absolutely.
I've always been a fan of the Kansas State. That's who Morrow reminds me of. He reminds me of Sproles and Deuce Vaughn, Darren Sproles and Deuce Vaughn. Got a lot of similarities there between those guys, and that's pretty exciting stuff. But
low center of
and
gravity.
Then the last, go ahead, man. Yes,
no, I was going to say those short backs that can get out behind. You can't see them behind the O line as big as ours, and all of a sudden,
that's right.
All of a sudden, they're in the open field with a full head of steam, and they're tough to stop.
They are. And he's obviously strong too. He's broken tackles a few times. We've seen that out of him. The last little misdirection thing I like, it's just so subtle. But the fullback dive off the jet sweep, it's subtle, and you may think, well, that's not that big of a deal. But look what it does to the LSU linebacker, 33, who should be squaring up Weeks. He should be squaring up our fullback right there. And maybe we don't score if he is. But just that step, it pulls him. That's all it takes. Just a step or 2 to get him out of the angle where he can square us up, and we got the little area there to score. So that was a small, and me, I coached in the wing tee a lot, and so in my last 6 years, and that was really cool to see, because that's kind of a wing tee staple, is under center jet sweep fakes and then stuff off of it. So yeah, man, all of those, the bad eye discipline and how we exploited that was super exciting. That was my good. And then the other thing was the return game. KC went for 3 and 132 in the punt return game, and Bussy went for 2 and 68. That underrated how big that return was coming out of half. To put us up there. That
Huge
kid is
play.
just like Bussy's the most not underrated because we all know who Bussy is, but like on a team full of stars, that guy's just out there making a play every now. When his number's called, he's been making some plays lately too. He had a couple, a big catch, but anyway, the return game was huge for us in this.
Yes, it was. And I'll be honest, I thought about that after the game because I looked at the total yards. I'm like, man, I would have thought we'd had more than that for total yards, but I thought, well, we returned a punt, we had a kickoff, and you love that stuff, but it's almost like Surratt used to tell kids, just let it hit the ground and roll. We'll get more yards. It's okay, fine, just let it roll. So,
I don't give a rip.
Right.
I can tell you right, the special teams coaching at Carthage is on punt return because I used to be that special teams guy. Is fair catch everything.
yeah, we'll take care of it. Just catch the ball. Well, the bad for me, and Brandon, if you listen to our podcast at all, I harp on this all the time because it drives me insane. But the bad for me was penalties. Now I will say that we cleaned it up in the second half. I'm not sure what Elko did, if he decided that he was going to start pulling that Cabo money at halftime or what the deal was, but we had 65 yards of penalties for the game, but only 5 yards in the second half. So, I think we'd all agree, man, and I think they asked Elko that in post game, something about, do you feel like this team's peaked or whatever? And he said, no, I think they're still, and that's the scary part is I think we saw in the second half what this team's truly capable of when we put it all together. And so, Brandon's Coach Surratt is the head coach at Carthage. I coach for him. Coach Brown coached for him. And that was probably the thing that always astounded me the most about him as a coach. And I never could figure out what his secret recipe was. But that dude was unbelievable at getting teams to peak right at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that, Elko's got him going in that direction. But that was my bad, was the penalties. Seth, what'd you have?
The only bad I've got was probably how my singing voice sounded, calling Baton Rouge with all the other Aggies while the Tigers sat there.
Yeah.
We all got up and sang it while most of the Tigers were just sitting there. Most of them had left at that point, honestly. What the greatest part was they were so on the brink, of leaving that literally when we forced the punt in the third quarter, the aisles filled up going down. They filled up. They were leaving. And then KC houses it while they're in the aisle crammed, and then it just backed up all the way to the top.
They were out. Yeah.
So,
that was nice to see, for us to just completely impose our will on that team. And that was probably the most encouraged I've been watching Aggie football in a really long time. There was a lot of significance of that win, but for us to just flex on them physically, like even going back to how Amari was running, Cassius Howe getting after that dude, I'm sure we'll talk about that more. Like, we looked like the more aggressive physical team, and we've been. It's taken us a while to get to that point, but seeing that stadium empty from home filled my heart with way too much joy. It's unhealthy how happy I was.
Look, I'll tell you this. You can go back and look for a long time. There's only been one other team that could go into that setting and just completely dominate physically and on the scoreboard. And I'm not going to mention who that is, but, their coach isn't there anymore because he's working it for ESPN. But, that's the only team I've ever seen go in. Now, I've seen teams go in and win. Auburn throw a touchdown on the last play of the game or whatever. But the only team I've ever seen just go in and physically abuse those cats in that setting. They have a very simple helmet scheme, and
yes,
Who are you talking about, Mark? It was, and it turned into, so me and the boys were talking, like on the road trip down, we were looking at the slate, and before the game happened, and we were like, there's nobody else on in prime time. Like, all the other good games are at 2:30. Everybody's going to be watching this. And then it turns into an A&M infomercial for the whole fourth quarter. Herbie and the camera, and because all their fans were gone, so they just kept showing. I was like, this is good for the brand too. Like, what you can do and what's recruiting calls off of this. that's shooting fish in a
here's
barrel
what's
at that
great.
point.
You know, Herb Street has kind of been a little hard on A&M because I think early on throughout different times he would jump on the bandwagon. We'd lay an egg.
Let him down.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And so I get that. But I think his kid's relationship with Marcel, that dude is all in on Marcel. And I forgot, he has a podcast with another guy, and they even had Marcel on there. And when Marcel got off, man, it was like a Heisman hype video. You could show on TV how great they were talking about him. But
Yeah.
Joey Galloway. Well, it
yeah.
goes back to what you said,
Joey.
Matt, about what y'all did at Carthage. The reason that Herb Street and a lot of the national pundits have been down on us or hesitant to jump on the bandwagon is we've always peaked at the wrong time. We've
Mhm.
always peaked in September, maybe early October.
Yeah.
And Coach Elko has these guys. Now we're 8-0. We just won a game going into November on the road against LSU and smashed them. And so it's a little bit easier to get behind us because Elko and this staff has them peaking, hopefully, it seems like, at the right time. And that's a big deal. That's what's so exciting. And that's, to me, why I think so many of us feel like this is different. They just keep taking it 1 week at a time.
That's right. Yeah. Well, the ugly I had was the second quarter between the block punt and the 2 picks. And Marcel will learn from the first pick. He'll learn from the second one. I think he made the right read. The corner just made a heck of a play on it. You can see here, you know, the corner's blitzing from the short side of the field, which is an uncommon. You teach the quarterback if the corner's coming, get it out to that receiver in a hurry. Receiver runs a quick stop. Yeah. And if you go to the still photo, you can see, I mean, I see why he threw it. I'd throw that too.
100%.
But that
Well,
corner makes a heck of a play. He realizes I can't get to the quarterback, so I got to jump up. He made a heck of a play. Kudos to him. But yeah, and it just goes to show, man. It's like you said a second ago, Brandon. It's the culture, man. It's I think in previous regimes, previous times, if we had a great first quarter and then we have a second quarter like that, we don't come out of the halftime like we did. We come out of the halftime and probably in a dogfight the rest of the game. And he went in there, refocused everybody, said, guys, we got this. And we were talking about it in the group text. I mean, if you looked at the numbers at halftime, we were dominating them in every single category except for the block punt and the 2 turnovers.
Yep.
And so, he just went in there and got them refocused, and man, they were rolling after that. So, did you have any ugly there, Seth? Other than your singing, you said.
Just want to sing I just want to sing the praises of the big uglies, because I really think we win the trenches, and that's what the SEC has always been, trench warfare, when it comes down to it. And it's a stat I brought up before of what's called yards before contact. It's not, I don't think any stat's perfect because the stat heads will try to use stats and they don't watch any film, so you got to watch film first, but then you can use some stats. And our yards before contact was the highest of the season at 3.9. The second highest one was when we played Mississippi State. So that is huge because in that third quarter on that opening drive, I think we called maybe 2 passes. One was incomplete, or maybe 3 in 2 scrambles. So and then the rest of it was run game, jet sweep, and all that off of it, and we just started jetting them and misdirecting them to death, and then our guys just took over the trenches. They were already winning, but it was like, just put it on our back. Let's go ensure this is the touchdown. And that's where so our heart and soul runs through those big boys up front, them big uglies, and they really brought it in this game. Very, very, very cool.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Mark, this is your time to shine, Mr. Defense. Tell us about the good, bad, and ugly of our defense versus LSU.
Well, defensively, obviously there was a lot of good. We give up a block punt. We turned it over twice, and that kind of put us in a bind. Really, on that pick you just showed, they get the ball around midfield and they end up going down and scoring. And I use that as an excuse, but I really would have liked to see him get them off the field there. But our pass rush was unbelievable. Our coverage was really good. I think that did not get spoke about in the game as much, about how well we were covering. And I won't even get to my next point because I want to save that for the ugly. But we're so sound. But I temper all of this kind of felt like going into the Auburn game, we were going to dominate them. I kind of felt like going into the Mississippi State game, we would dominate them. Florida, I was a little worried because Lagway throws the ball really well. But those two schemes, Auburn and Mississippi State, didn't worry me, and I was not worried about this scheme and the fact that their quarterback is a statue back there. I felt like we were after him, and I felt like their offensive line was beat up. So it was like a perfect storm for us to get after it. If they're going to use 3 and 5 step, and I know they don't really do 3 and 5 step, but there's still a pattern to the timing of reads to 3 and 5 step. And if they're going to use that stuff, we're going to get to the quarterback, and we did. And I really liked how it wasn't just Cassius Howe. And Seth, you have a couple of clips on everything I'm saying here: the coverage in this and back end, and then the side by side. So just pull
Yes.
one up, and we'll talk about
Here,
it.
we'll just start going through them. So this first play, I just wanted to, this defense plays with a very high IQ, and I think that's an extension of the coaching staff and Coach Elko. But like you see Sanford here at the last second recognize screen, right? Like and
Almost
knock that
picked it
ball
off.
down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Huge play. Early. This was early in the game.
But Seth, that's not the best one. I want you to watch on the far right. I want you to watch Cassius Howe. So a lot of people, like the Philadelphia Eagles, use this a lot too. They run this guy. They run a lot of split flow motion with this H back, and then they will pull him out and throw it to him, right? And
Yes.
Yep.
defensive ends in a bind. And I just in the NFL, it's like, will somebody, for crying out loud, collision that guy? Watch Cassius. He sees the quarterback.
Right.
He has discipline to see the guy coming and collision him. Takes him completely out of the route now. That's high level football. And we see that a lot from Cassius, that he is
Absolutely.
not a one trick pony. We've seen him get underneath pullers and box them out and things like that. So
There was a
just high level stuff.
Coach, there was a play in the first quarter where Cassius was on the other side, and he ran up, you said, getting underneath the pullers. I think in the beginning of the season, the thing that had me nervous about our defense, even going back to last year, was getting outflanked. People getting
Yes.
outside of us not keeping contained. And Cassius Hell just gets flat and sets the edge and just leans into the pulling lineman and shuts the play down. He forces it inside to his help. That's high IQ defensive football. And you mentioned it here. This is a phenomenal play by Cassius to take that dude out and take down Nuss's options to 1. And then again, Sanford's eyes to notice that. I mean, that's good defense from all those guys up
And
front.
here's the other thing, Brandon. That's high IQ on the play you're talking about, but that's also very, very unselfish.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
that's what we talked about it earlier in the season in our preseason, that we were concerned about. Maybe the D line wouldn't have the depth, or the you had first rounder and 2 second rounders drafted off that team last year, and that sounds like a lot to replace. But I think Coach Brown said it multiple times, and I know we all agreed with
You
him
can call him that one, right, Mark? Yeah.
that the sum of the parts can be better when they play complementary on the field. And like you said, setting that edge, feeding that guy back in where you got to help. And so yeah, big time player, but also big time team player, which is not always the case.
Set this clip up for you. This is 3rd and 12 in the, I think, third quarter. And, obviously 3rd and 12, everybody thinks blitz with Elko, but look at our corners work right there.
Will lead,
Yeah,
bro.
2-man under. Yeah.
2-man under. And you know why you run 2-man under? Because you got 4 guys or 3 guys that can get to the quarterback regardless. You don't have to bring pressure. And say, cover them for a minute because we're going to get there.
Yep. Again, it's what we talked about Klein being able to do on offense. I mean, when you don't have to bring extra people from the second level to create pressure, it helps so much on the back end trying to cover crazy athletic people. But I mean, yeah, look at Tyreek, look at Ricks. I mean, they are step in step with these guys. It looks like they all understand the down and distance. I mean, Will Lee broke perfectly on this. I mean, again, all showing mature, confident, high IQ, good athletes. And man, it's gonna be tough to beat us if our secondary and our back end continues to cover like that. We will be tough.
Yeah, no doubt.
I can tell you what them corners are saying when you call 2-man under and it looks like this. They're going to sound like, Coach, you ain't need them safeties. You ain't need them.
Yeah, 100%.
Coach,
I got him, Coach.
I got it.
him, Coach.
Yeah.
It's me. I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is third and 7. Just to set this one up, this is 3rd and 7, and here we show the York has walked up in a mug look, and then we overload. They set and they get their pass pro is completely screwed up at this point. They set a full slide to the right, the back goes right. Just Elko just having a field day here, right, Mark?
Yeah,
But
you
look at
should
the
buyout when you get fired, and that's what your pass pro looks like. That's your contract.
Yeah.
If your pass pro looks worse than a 2A high school football team's pass pro, you lose your buyout.
yeah, absolutely. Put that in all the contracts. I love
There
that.
you go.
They
But
can't even
And then once
fly
again,
to
yeah,
protect.
the other thing here too that is such a big thing. I know y'all know this, and I'm sure y'all talk about this. But not only does Reek make a great play, stop him short of the chains, right, get him to punt. But watch what happens to Nuss at the end of this. He's getting hit.
Yeah.
He's
every time.
uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's throwing off his
Yep.
rhythm. Like those, I'm sure people speak about it, but y'all know this. Like when a quarterback keeps getting hit and hit and hit, man, it throws off your rhythm. It speeds up your clock. I'm like, I got to get rid of this ball. It'll force bad incompletions or turnovers. And man, they were hitting his tail. We got to him, I think, 7 times, but we got to him way more than that
Yeah.
when it wasn't a sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
even more frustrating when Rylan Kennedy is breakdancing while you lay on the ground.
Correct. You're looking like you're asleep. That's exactly right.
I'll say I in the story, there was a lot of hype in the preseason by the journalism majors about quarterbacks and who was going to be wonderful and great and phenomenal, and Nuss was definitely one of those guys. But I really think that one of the reasons he hasn't been is because of that right there. That dude's been hit a lot, and I'm not, but
Yeah.
he's been hit a lot.
Yeah,
A
I
lot.
don't
He
think
has
it's
been.
necessarily arm talent. I think it's hard
No,
to
no.
it's hard to do that when you're getting hit like that. So,
100%.
Seth, did you have one you wanted to pull up that was side by side with Cassius and my
Yes.
boy?
One more, and then we'll get to that one. I'm
Okay.
holding that one that's my pride and joy. I made that last night at 1 a.m. watching the World Series, and I was like, I think I got gold here. But all right, so this is what's cool too, and we talked about this before. While Elko will make short-term decisions that will pay off in the long term, that sometimes create short-term frustration, he has been playing the young guys in every game. And now Noah McHale gets in on a goal line play. This is not garbage time. This
No.
was the goal. This was a goal line stand in the second quarter, I think.
Mhm.
And this is a true freshman brought in on a goal line package, so not garbage time. And now what you've done, you've not only got him reps in a real SEC game, but now he has demystified Death Valley to this freshman. He's made a play in Death Valley. And now granted, now you can question it now. I would too. Like, why are they running quarterback draw with Nuss? I mean,
That was my
they're asking,
question live. I'm like, this dude's getting hit enough, and now you're running him. Like, come on, man, what are you doing to
Yeah.
that poor kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. That was not a good.
So I'll tell you one reason why, and because a lot of guys, and I see this a lot on the defense side. One of the things that we do against empty and when they motion a back out, whatever it is, we take a linebacker out of the box. So if you're just doing this by numbers, Seth, you're an offensive guy. Like, hey, they're gonna take
Yeah.
one of the best players on the field, and they're gonna motion him out there with a guy we're not throwing it to. It thinks, it's like, well, we got numbers, and so, but a
Yeah.
guy makes. You still got to have the Charlies and the Joes, though.
Yep.
Even if you got numbers.
Seth, I
So
love
this
that
is
you
what I
said
made
And then
last
the side
this
by
is-
side.
Yeah. So talk about that development and that coaching, right? Here it is.
So you look at both these guys; they're both blitzing off the edge. They both going against this tackle that's had a rough night. And if you look at they're going to stick with their left arm in case they get contact. And then when they realize, hey, he's kind of deep set himself, now I'm just going to pull and dip through and turn that corner. And they both do it identically. It's two different human beings. But that right there says you have a D-line coach that is absolutely coaching the piss out of technique over and
Yes.
over, because you don't by doing it. Hey guys, here's how you rush a passer. Get hip to hip, stick, dip, rip, turn the corner. You don't do that one time and they just get it. It takes a lot of reps to get technique,
Okay.
to be really good at it. And to have two different guys, two different human beings from two different high schools,
Different
doing
states.
it identical on film.
Yeah.
Then different states. Yeah, it just goes to show you the amount of coaching that A&M's getting. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to draw something on the board and I need you to get to the quarterback. It's about they're
Right.
reading the hat pass. They're getting into what they're doing, and they're both executing the technique perfectly. And that's this right here. You got two great athletes. You also have a great coach that's worked the piss out of this with them.
So
Correct.
two things I want to add. One, Marco Jones is a freak. Okay.
He
I,
is.
I saw that kid for the first time live at the Florida game, and my daughter probably thinks I'm some weirdo because I kept tapping my buddy, and I'm like, that kid's 18. That kid is 18 years
Yeah.
old. You are not supposed to look
Yeah.
like that at 18 years old. And then my other thing is, there is no doubt that kid is a future first rounder, in my opinion. I've just been so impressed with that kid. I know he's not a starter, and he's getting more and more snaps as the season's going on. But I just see such a bright future in that kid. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Mark, do you have anything else you wanted to add to the defense before we're gonna grade the coaches through 8 games and give our opinion on her?
Let me go through the bad. The penalty that extended the drive, that's a bad for sure. You can't have that. As Stonewall Jackson once said, it's good to have your dander up, but it's discipline that wins the day. And we definitely had our dander up, good. But the discipline was successful in other places, and that was bad. But I will say I wasn't jumping off a bridge like Matt in the group text and trying to fire our corner. He, oh my God, get out of the game. Like, no, don't get the game. And he did come back and make some great plays.
He
Look,
did.
they're 18, 19, 20 years old. They got a bunch of drunk Cajuns yelling at them, and they got a point to prove. They're going to have their dander up. But that was the only bad. The ugly, I'm going to just give to LSU's offensive scheme and their O-line. That's ugly. They are not good on offense. Let's be clear. They are not good. So just if I'm in the coaching room and we just had that successful thing, I'm going to coach everything really hard on things that we did. And I'm going to remind them that that's not a very good offense. There's some talented people there, but the scheme is terrible. They don't even know how to do slide protection, which is what every 2A school in America and Texas is running right now. And then the other ugly that I had was just as I watched the game and tried to put myself in the position of being an LSU donor, watching the coach on the sideline berate his assistant coaches, question everything. It's like, dude, did you not watch film? Like,
Right.
did you not? I mean, why are you just cussing every assistant coach out? And then every call that went against him, he's cussing the official out. And man, that was a bad look for him. And I get it. He's frustrated. And it's one thing you have to pick your poison when you pick on those officials, and you have to pick your poison. Nobody was harder on assistant coaches than Nick Saban. I've heard it in the industry. I've heard crazy stories about a GA getting picked up at the airport by Nick, and he had him fired by the time they got to the field house. True story. That's
Yeah.
true story.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
But it's another thing. Again, it's good to have your dander up, but it's discipline that wins the day. And that was an ugly look. So there was really no ugly for us. I thought we played well. Thought we took the fight to them, and I thought we did things within the scheme, which is really good to see. It's what we did not see last year from all those big names. Is we did not see them play within the scheme. These cats were playing the scheme, and it really, 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 really was good. Yeah, I'd like to not give up that last garbage time touchdown, but it is what it is. It was a great day. We can eat our ice cream sandwiches and sing "Call" in Baton Rouge. It's all good.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All
Love that.
right. So at this point, we're going to do just kind of I know it's not mid-season. We're 8 games through the season. I'm hoping it's kind of mid-season though, because if you make it to the national title, it's probably 16 games. So let's
I like
hope
that
maybe
math.
it's mid-season. But I'll start off with the offense, man. I've been a fan of Adam Cushing since he got there. If you'll pull up that chart, the first chart about the sacks, Seth, if you remember the last couple of years of Jimbo and how frustrating it was with our offensive line and how you had guys looking at each other, pointing at each other, and didn't have a clue who had what. We talked about the slide protection for LSU. And I'll tell you, when I was at Carthage, I interviewed for a couple offense coordinator jobs. I remember Scott was great to work for, and he would tell you, hey, if you want to go get an OC job or a head job, I'll help you, whatever. Just be open with me, talk to me. And I remember I was interviewing for an OC job, and the first thing he said is, "Do you have an offensive line coach lined up?" And I said, "No, I don't. I figured I'd hire him after." He said, "Do not take an offense coordinator position without a great offensive line coach already committed to go with you." He said, "You can do a quarterback coach, you can do wide receivers, you can do running back, but that dude is going to make or break your offense." And there's a lot of truth in that. So you can look here on the left, you can see in 2023, Jimbo's last year here, we gave up 30 sacks on the season. Last year we had an improvement. We dropped from 30 down to 24. This year, through 8 games, we've given up 7 sacks. 8
Jeez.
games, 7 sacks. The other thing that we talked about, and we talked about early in the season on the podcast, first couple games, it felt like we were like air raid, man. We were throwing it around. We weren't running the ball. What are we doing? We're getting away from and all they were doing was making sure they had that part of the offense flowing.
Correct.
And so you look, and the last year Jimbo was here, we were averaging 136 yards on the ground. Not terrible, but we went from 136 to 195 on the ground per game last year. And this year, even taking away those first couple games where we were throwing it so much, we're averaging 200 yards on the ground every game. So you can see what this guy's done and what a great job he's done. I give him an A+ through 8 games. But I think he's done an unbelievable job as our offensive line coach. So Adam Cushing, kudos to you, brother. Seth, what do you think?
Is there any position group not going to get an A+?
Not on my side of the ball, boss.
Because I don't think so either. So, yeah, it's heart and soul of the offensive line. And I'm sure Brandon has some experience with how that goes. You have played running back, behind an offensive line. Every running back has. So one of the quotes that sticks with me that I found with Adam Cushing, one of his little clinic films he's got out there, he says, quote, "I tell my guys the minute they walk in the door with us as freshmen that I'm going to attack problems and not people on the field." That was
That's huge.
a heck of a quote.
Yeah,
That's a heck of a quote.
And I think we're seeing the byproduct of that.
Can we send that to Brian Kelly?
No, Seth,
Yeah.
you mentioned the yards before contact. I mean, when this offense, when we get a lead of 2 possessions, let's call it 10 points to 14 points. I mean, the confidence for us the Florida game is the perfect testament to it. It wasn't pretty, but it was long, it was slow, and we just leaned on those boys and broke their will. We weren't doing that
Right.
2 years ago, and we really weren't doing that last year, like you said, Matt. But man, Cushing might be the highest graded coach in my opinion on the season, because it's that those stats you just pulled up, Matt, that is a massive change in a program's trajectory in 2 years, and the
absolutely.
record speaks for itself. So hell of a job by that guy and
Yeah.
those players.
Well, and you think about it, they're rotating 7 guys. It's not just the same
Right.
5 guys, and that does a couple things for you. One, in my opinion, it helps you with recruiting, right? Because you look at a kid like Zune. Zune's not going to be a tackle in the NFL. They've already told him you're going to be an interior guy. So you can show these recruits, look, dude, I'm going to maybe need you to play here, but I'm going to put you in a position to where we're going to help your draft staff, stock too. And it also helps you because it's inevitable, unfortunately, especially in the SEC, as physical as it is, you're going to have injuries. So I've been rotating these 7 guys. So if one of them goes down, these guys have already been getting reps. We're not going to miss a beat. So just everything about what he's doing is really, really good. So moving on to our wide receivers, Holman, Wiggins, if you'll pull up that stat. I think we know last year we just didn't have the GoDaddies outside. And, you can draw up plays. You can do all this all you want. But, if you ain't got the Jimmies and the Joes, you're going to have a hard time winning ball games. So what I'm giving kudos to Wiggins for is they identified that last year and they went and did something about it.
Absolutely.
They went and got Mario Craver. They went and got Casey Concepcion, but they also kept developing ABR and kept developing Bussy, who are, as the season going on, you're seeing what those guys can do as well. And so you look here, this is through 13 games. Those 3 were our top receivers. You had 106 receptions, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns. These are our top 3 guys through 8 games. You've got a little fewer receptions, but you've got almost 200 yards more, and you've got the same number of touchdowns, and we've only played 2/3 of the season. So you can see there, and I think Seth will talk about it some, but the other thing is last year we tried to run some of these jet sweeps and some of this stuff with the receivers, and we just didn't have a guy that could do it. And now you see both KC and Craver, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the other 2 guys get involved in that part of it too, because they're quick enough and athletic enough to do it. But it just adds such another element to the game. Seth's really good at talking about horizontal stretch, and man, that really does. You start being able to do that, and then like you said, with the key and the look going left with that jet sweep and pulling that Nike protection, then dropping off tomorrow going. I mean, you can just see all the benefits of what those guys bring. So he's got an A+ too. Yes, Seth, that will be another A+ for that gentleman.
Yeah, yeah,
So you got anything to add there, Seth?
yeah. A+, and this is a joke amongst my friends is how much I hate wide receivers.
They are
Like,
prima
Yeah,
donnas.
yeah. They always laugh, and they were like, "What would you do?" I was like, well, "We'd be in 32 personnel or 23 most of the time, so y'all would not want me to be the OC here at all." But anyway, no, but so my one thing is I was listening to the Klein press conference yesterday, and this just grabbed me what he said about in game. He said, in the game, there's a great example of what these wide receivers are like. He said, we're running a mesh play on Saturday, and Mario Craver is talking about how he thinks the tight end is going to be open because of how they're playing their man coverage. He said, guys are buying in. That gets me really excited because they're buying into the big picture concept of, hey, we're doing this together. We're all helping each other. And it's all going to work out how it should based on how they play us, and we're all going to find a way. And he went on and on about how that's a huge deal because that's the last place that happens is the wide receiver room usually.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it is happening in the wide receiver room, if it's happening there, it's happening everywhere. So that is huge.
Yeah.
Well, and
A+.
the other thing that's a testament to how unselfish the whole team is, but we're talking receivers, is look how they block for each other. Even going back to ABR's catch where he makes it and no one on the planet thinks he's going to land and keep going like an ice skater. You know, he just smoothed out of that break. And Mario Craver's running downfield, blocking.
Like
as soon
a
as he sees him catch,
scalded
he's
dog.
flying downfield. I mean, and even just their effort. Like when KC Conception gets the ball, I get nervous because he runs so hard. I'm like, bro, you're gonna blow ACL, go down. But he does not want to go down. He's dragging defenders out of bounds.
Yeah.
Craver is like, what is Craver? He's like 180. He's
Maybe,
not very big, and he runs.
whatever.
He runs like he's 215. I mean,
Yes.
these guys have so much effort, and that we did not have that with the last go around. And Seth, you said Klein's been in his bag. Well, it's Jimmy Joe's and X's and O's. You can do more with the X's and O's.
That's
you
right.
can
When
show
you got the
more of
Jimmys
your
and
knowledge
Joes.
when you got the Jimmys and Joes, and that's what's happening, man. They
No
can
doubt.
do all kind of stuff. It's
No
crazy.
doubt. Yep. So moving on to tight ends, Seth, I'm gonna give them an A+ too. And people are gonna say, man, they haven't really, if you look at the numbers compared to last year, it's not like we have a whole lot more receptions or yards or touchdowns, and that may be true. But if you turn on that film and watch those dudes and what they bring to the table, they can catch the ball and they can do those type of things, but they can also block a defensive end. We've got a tight end that can block a SEC defensive end on an edge run or in pass protection. And those aren't the things you're going to see in the paper, you're going to see on ESPN, but those are the things that are going to win you a lot of ball games. And so for me, what's impressed me is just how much more physical those guys are in the blocking game and what they've added to that part of the game. And guess what? They can catch the ball if you need them to, if you don't remember Notre Dame game. So they bring it all to the table. They're a total package for a tight end, and so they get an A+ for me. Seth, what do you got?
Oh, yeah, A+. Borkercher, what he brings. You look at those two rooms, and you have KC come into the wide receiver room, who runs it like an old veteran who's just an extension of the coaching staff. One of the things I always laugh, I've seen it happen multiple times watching the Pulse or whatever. When Elko's talking, usually KC is right in front of him looking up at him. Like most wide receivers are off in the back taping their shoe spat up or something, and he's right in front, just like And then Borkircher comes in and kind of, while he's not as flashy as KC with the athleticism, he comes into that room and just seems to be this like old leadership presence that even though it's his first year here, it's like he's been here forever. And then you see Thor, a walking example of development, a lot of things last year. We saw him make some big catches, but he also got beat a lot against good SEC defensive fronts, especially in the Texas game, which I know a lot of people struggle with short yardage there. But he has not. He is now reaching and slipping under those guys. And then the unheralded tight end room hero is Michael Riley, number 88. He doesn't get a pass thrown his way, but he is hammering. He is a violence guy. Like, he's fun to watch on film after. He may not show up in the game, but when you're watching the film later, you're like, there's some ribs that are hurting on a backside end right now for that guy. So, anyway.
Absolutely.
Well, and to me, a close second, I do think Adam Cushing is probably in the tops there, but a close second to me is Trooper Taylor. That dude's an A+ because, like I said, you're talking about, we lost Moss last year in South Carolina game. We saw how the rest of the season went. But you watch our running backs this year, and they may not be as big. They may not be as explosive as Moss. But man, do they run physical. We talked about that. They are so daggum physical. And, Owens could have transferred. He could have looked and saw, well, Moss is going to be the guy. I can go be a star somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Daniels and Smith the exact same way. And not only did they stay, but now they're looking at this freshman getting more carries. And it hasn't changed anything from their effort when they get out on that field, how physical they are. If you take Owens, Smith, and Daniels, those three guys are combining for 675 yards on the ground. Can you imagine if we didn't? That's a large chunk of change right there. Those guys have contributed, and it seems like it's a different one every game. Seeing Smith come in there in the Florida game and how he was physical, seeing how Daniels at Arkansas, and then this last week at LSU, how physical he's running. It's just exciting to watch. And then, like I said, what he's already done with that freshman, I think we all see what that kid's going to be or could be if we can, keep developing, keep growing him. But when I was coaching, you always said that you judge a coach by what you see out of his players on film. And when you watch our running backs this year, you almost turn off the film and go, who are they angry with? Who are they mad at? The way they run and the way they finish, like who stole their lunch money? Like what the heck did they? Because they are just so daggum physical. So I give Trooper an A+ on that. And man, he is a blessing to have at A&M for sure. So Seth, what you got?
Well, Trooper, yeah, A+. And I want to say this much too, from just a coaching dynamic standpoint. You remember Elko brought Cushing and Trooper with him prior to even hiring his OC. And sometimes that's a tricky situation for an OC to step into. So, but it hadn't been very tricky here, and that's by design. I think we're not to the point where we can just. Yeah, we are to the point. I just trust Elko now, like, completely, and I always kind of did. But we've been burned so many times. But man, this guy, like, something's gonna have to really change inside of him, and what he knows about himself. And this is what's so cool about him bringing Trooper, because Trooper was with him at Duke, right? So he had identified this before he was even, like, it didn't take him long to identify this. He's kind of hard to play for and coach for. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. He is a demanding dude. He will grind your butt into the dirt. So you better have a hype man to balance that out, right? Like, you better have the guy who's going to bring the positive vibes and the positive energy. He knows that about himself. Trooper was with him at Duke. So he knew that about himself before he even became a head coach, like his first year as a head coach, and brought him with him. To me, that's such a cool thing. When a head coach even knows his own weaknesses, right? Like, maybe not like the LSU guy. Like, if a head coach knows, man, I'm really some of these kids are going to get their feelings hurt when I get done talking to them. I need somebody to go stroke that ego back up. And that's exactly what Trooper does. So A+ out of the room, but A+ on how he fits into this staff too. It's really incredible. Brandon, what do you think about the running back room, man?
It's unbelievable. You keep asking Matt, like, who are they angry at? And I just keep going back to that quote that Mike Elko said. I think it was either halftime of one of the games or pregame. He's like, at some point we got to announce who we are and kick down an effing door. Like, at some point. And I know we have felt like that as fans for a really long time, at least since I've been around. And to me, the running backs in this team play like they are trying to kick a door down. Like, we are here. Like, this is a statement for us. And man, when Amari Daniels did that against Arkansas, Brother, that fired me up so much on our sideline, standing over him. I'm like, we are letting people know, like, you are in for a fight. And I don't think that we have necessarily done that our entire tenure in the SEC. And Trooper Taylor has those running backs dialed in pass pro, running
Yep.
aggressive, fighting for extra yardage, not being lazy in anything. Like, they are playing phenomenal as a group. And going back to your stat, Matt, of the rushing yards per game, these last 2 games we've been without Le'Veon, who I think is
Yeah.
top 2 running backs in the SEC. We're still getting 200 yards rushing, and we are so thankful to have a deep running back room led by a great man. So it's a
Well,
big deal.
you got to tip your hat, especially in 2025 with the transfer portal and NIL and all the outside noise that you got to deal with as a coach, man. To have a room of running backs, because you talk about wide receivers, Seth. Those running backs can be prima donnas too, man.
You can be.
And
Yeah.
to have them bought into understanding that, hey, we're stable. Everybody's gonna get some PT. Don't worry about it. When it's your time, I need you to be ready. And for those kids to have that mentality, it shows a maturity. It shows an unbelievable culture, and just Trooper's done a great job there. So
Hey, can I say something, Matt, about Trooper?
sure.
I don't know if the average fan really understands this. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Carthage game, still season ticket holder there. And, we have a running back that's coming to A&M next year, one of the best backs in the country. And we have a linebacker. And Trooper Taylor was on the sideline the entire game for that game. And we were playing some terrible team. And, our running back our starting running back at this time of the year probably gets, 6 to 10 carries because he's already got 120 yards in the games. Put our other guy in there going to pound it. And but Trooper stayed for the whole game. Both those guys were out. He stayed around to the end. There's a lot of work that goes into building a I don't even want to use the D word, but to build this year in and year out. And we've said this about Elko and the coaching staff. Yeah, this is a great year. We have a chance to do some phenomenal things this year that will be cemented forever in history. But those guys are still focused on the total program year in, year out, and the amount of travel they have to do. I've had friends that have coached at the college level. I've GA'd at the college level. You just cannot imagine what all's on their plates. Not just LSU. They're talking to the guys for next year. They're looking at who might be a portal guy. They're constantly calling people to keep relationships going. They're traveling all over the state for guys that are already fully committed to their program. They're going and visiting just to make sure we're shoring that up in this age of we'll throw money at it, programs that are around that we don't want someone else in this guy's ear. We want to build the relationship with that guy and keep the relationship with that guy. He's 100% committed to A&M, regardless of what you read on the journalism websites. But Trooper coming and the amount of time and effort that these assistant coaches are doing to go visit and build relationships for the future of A&M football. It just shows the buy-in of the assistant coaches.
No,
Well, and
100%.
I got one for you too, Coach, that I think is even more impressive. A friend of mine that I hired that worked for us at Alpha Paving in Dallas, his brother-in-law is the head football coach at Stephenville. And, he just got his 100th win, right? And so what does my friend Justin text me a picture of? This really nice package from A&M football to the head coach of Stephenville. Congratulations on your 100th win. Like those things, and y'all can speak to this more than me. Y'all have all coached. I believe there was some damage done from Jimbo between the Texas High School Coaches Association.
100.
Correct. And Trooper staying at a game in Carthage, Texas for the entire game when his guys are out, him staying there not only is good for the players and the relationships there, but supporting that coaching staff and what they're doing in the community, showing that he sees value in what they're doing as coaches, for them to identify the coach of Stephenville's 100th win and take the time to send a package to him with some goodies. Like those are next level, foundational level moves that this coaching staff is making. And that's something to be extremely fired up about for Aggies.
Yep. All right. Well, the last offensive coach we'll analyze here is Klein. Of course, he's definitely going to get an A+. I think we're obviously big fans of that guy. If you'll pull up, I think I had a comparison, and I did this, Brandon. I did this on the preseason because the ultimate goal is to win a national title, right? Like that's it. And when I was a high school coach, I coached football in the fall, and then I coached baseball, and I switched over to softball. And I would put on our schedule all the way up to the state championship. I would put it, and people would ask, "Well, why are you putting the state?" Because that's the goal. Like every year,
Absolutely.
that's the goal. Every stinking year. Now we may not reach it, but I'm gonna put it there for those kids to have their eye on it. So for me, I looked at Ohio State won it last year, so I wanted to compare Marcel Reed to Will Howard, and I did it. I did a chart just like this at the beginning of the season. Um, and so this is where we're at right now. So Marcel's through 8 games this year. Howard played 16 of all last year. So right now he's got 1,972 yards passing. If we double that for 8 more games, he's at 3,944. That's dang close to 4,000. Rushing yards, he's at 409. We double it, he's at 800. That's 600 yards more than Howard. So total yards right now he's 2,381. Double it, 4,762, which is 500 more yards than what Howard had. Passing touchdowns, he's at 17 right now. He'd be at 34. Howard had 35. Rushing, he's at 6 right now. He'd have 12. Howard only had 7. So you can see total touchdowns there. You're looking at he would have 46 compared to 42. And then interceptions is the only place he's a little ahead of where Howard was. Not a huge gap. If he doubles it, it's 12 to 10. So not a huge discrepancy there. And I put that there because, the quarterback's going to get a lot of the blame. He's going to get a lot of the praise. And so the guy, that's heading up that position on our team, you can see his numbers are adequate to the guy that led his team to the national title. So it's there. That part of it's there. And so I just wanted to update that for the listeners. And then before I kick it to Seth, I went back and looked. Our scoring offense is 14th in the nation. Total offense, which is based off yardage, is 21st in the nation. We're 36th in passing offense, 26th in rushing offense, and we're 16th in red zone. So you can see there we're top 30 in everything but the passing offense, and I don't think anybody would question our ability to throw the ball at this point in the season. So Klein, A+, done an unbelievable job. Seth, you got something, boss? Or I'm sorry, Mark, were you going to say something?
Well, I'm just saying the only reason our passing yards aren't higher is this stupid return game keeps taking all the yards.
Well,
there's
true.
some. If he just fair catch it like Surratt says, we just.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Seth, you got anything to add there on Klein before we move to the defense?
I'm gonna go back to them kindergarten grades. I'm gonna give him an E. What is that? Is that higher than A+?
Yeah,
Isn't
it's
that
got to be
100 or
excellent.
something?
Yeah,
Okay,
excellent.
all right, yeah. I mean, the narrative behind Klein, and I don't know. I'm just gonna say what I hear. What's happened? What's funny is when you start doing stuff like this and you're not in coaching anymore and you still want to talk ball, you wind up in millions of group chats where you're talking ball, and I hear lots of different things, right? Like, so one of the narratives I heard was, Klein couldn't develop a quarterback. That's why the quarterback left and went to USC, that recruit, and that has been buried. You know what I mean? Like, that is absolutely buried. Klein can't run a modern passing game. Like, okay, K-State, look at them. They were this ground and pound, and the passing game was kind of this afterthought. And last year there were some issues. We think that's also Jimmy and Joe. But instead of doubling down and saying my offense is just fine, we're going to do it just like we are. He did get outside help this year. He did go talk to guys who are knowledgeable, some of which, like Dave Clawson. I know. You can see our DNA from the Dave Clawson style of doing things into this offense, and it almost looks to me like the passing game is actually simpler than it used to be, which is also an awesome thing because I think when I was watching the game the other night, I bet we ran mesh 8 times.
Yep.
Like it was it just some variation of it. Maybe tag the running back on a wheel instead of the shoot route or whatever. Tag who's going to do the post different. Anyway, that kind of stuff. So he attacked his weakness in the offseason, and then also he's pulled the levers properly. Like we've been able to execute the boa constrictor ground and pound like against Florida, and to open up that third quarter where it's like, I know we're the superior team, but we need to go make a statement and we need to punch it in. And we did it. And then I want to also give an A+ to Coach Klein's quant up in that press box, because he must be telling him all the right numbers too. I was sitting by him up there, spouting numbers off. That is so great. I was like, man, that would have been. I would want something like that if I was up there too. So,
Absolutely.
Well, Mark, tell us what your grades are for your defensive line, your secondary, and your linebackers there.
All right. Well, I'm gonna preface this with I am very, very hard on defensive coaches from a fan standpoint. I've been involved with defensive football since 1991. You know, as just far
91. I was 10. I was 10 years old, Mark. I was 10 years old then.
look, if you go back to running split six, I'm sorry that you're that inexperienced, Matt. Go if you go back our split six days when I was in high school, I wanted to be a coach my whole life. God did not gift me with Moss's body or Cash's house body. I wanted to be a coach, and so I studied X's and O's in high school, and then 4.25 in junior college. We ran a 4.3 based out of a two shell in college. But I'm very hard on defensive coaches. When I watch, like I had to sit through North Texas's games last year because my daughter's a dancer, and they ran a 3-3 stack, and they'd come in there with an H back, and I would watch how we lined up, and I'd be like, we're beat by alignment, which is you never want to be beat by alignment, and we were beat by game in and game out, and now we don't run that anymore because we got a really good defensive coordinator at North Texas. But I'm hard on defensive coaches. I'm hard on watching, do players get better? All linebackers are born with bad eyes. All secondary kids are born with bad eyes. Defensive linemen are all born with wanting to make a play at the end of the triangle instead of reading the front of the triangle. Every one of them. And so when I watch our D line, I'll go back to I was right, you were wrong, Matt. I love that. I always love that narrative. But when you were so worried about the fact that we were losing Turner and we were losing Scorton, and I was like, don't worry about it. I think we're gonna be better. Just because you don't know their names. I mean, I told y'all last year after one game when I saw Cash's house that that's a freaking guy. That guy's gonna be special, and that guy's gonna be a first round draft pick. And he was skinny, and he worked on his body, and he worked on how to play the run game better. But that all comes from coaching at the D-line level. It's very hard to teach a guy, hey, you're getting a puller. This is what we're going to do with them. And it's different from week to week because they're running split flow. We're going to need you to close grass and box it. This week, it's going to be a counter H thing. We need you not only to engage the puller, but we want you to slip and square him off. High, hard level stuff, and we're doing it. All of them are doing it. So A+ to the D line coach. How could you not give that guy an A+ when everybody threw up the big question marks about our D line at the beginning of the year? And then you watch them on film playing within the system. We showed a clip. They're running split flow zone, and then they run the double screen out of it. They flash that guy, and if we cover the inside T screen, then they have a check down to that guy who's run out to the flat now, and he's one-on-one with a safety, and he's a lot bigger than that dude. And Cassius took him out of the route. And that takes discipline. And so that definitely comes from coaching. The development of Cassius Howe from being a freak, skinny athlete. You got to give an A+ to Moffatt for teaching him how to make his body an NFL body. Watch that for the game, Matt. You're talking about having a man crush on the other guy. That guy looks like a Greek god now, and he didn't look like that last year.
And I was going to tell you, Brown, Seth's going to pull up that graphic they showed during the game on ESPN about his improvement on his vertical and his speed and his bench and his squat. And you talk about development, you got to give kudos to Moffatt as much as you give kudos. I think the D-line coach is doing a great job, don't get me wrong. But, in an age where we worry about NIL and we worry about transfers and we are, if you can get a conversation with these kids and their parents and explain to them, if you come here, we are truly going to develop your kid, and these are the examples we have. And you look at that, and I'll let Seth pull it up when he gets it up, but and you're right, his body is ridiculous. I don't know if you remember this, Coach Brown. One summer we were out there running the kids during summer workouts, and I forgot which kid. It might have been Ingram that played at Texas and played at USC was running without his shirt off. And I remember somebody said, man, somebody needs to tell him put his shirt back on. And I remember Coach Morgan said, guys, if you look like that, you'd be running with your shirt off too. We all just cracked up laughing. But look at that. I mean, you got a 17% increase on his top speed, 7-inch vertical. His bench went from 3 to 350 and squat went from 435 to 500. That you talked about it, Seth, that we were the main game Saturday night. That right there, if you're a recruit, or you're a parent and you're watching that and you're watching this kid, like, you can't argue with that development. That's
No.
ridiculous by both Moffatt and the coaches. So A+ to
And
those guys.
it takes two things, and I think this is why Jimmy Johnson is, to me, one of look, I have Tom Landry's autographed picture over here, but Jimmy Johnson may be my favorite all-time coach because he went to Arkansas. He was a psychology major, and that's what it takes. Someone had to go to Cassius Howell and say, look, you're not on anybody's radar right now because Scorton and Turner and those guys are all big-time picks. He said, but you're going to have to do some things now that will not pay off until later. And to get a kid to buy in takes some psychology. Then it takes good coaching. How do you get them there in the weight room? What are you doing with them? Because I've been in lots of off-season weight rooms where somebody came up with bigger, faster, stronger a long time ago. And it's okay, we're going to do this many reps. And that's all we're doing. We're just doing reps and we're just doing exercises. And I've seen it with baseball coaches like crazy. They'll because they coach football in the fall, they'll start doing that weight program. That is a totally different weight program when you got arms in baseball. You got to do a lot of different things to set a kid's arm up to be successful. We have great coaching and we have great psychology coaching to get these kids to buy into this generation I need it now. I need Chick-fil-A. I need it in 2 minutes with a smile on your face. And I want the rewards now. Weight room, off season, those type of things, spring ball, technique, those things pay off much later. And to get these kids to buy in, the D-line coaches, the linebacker coaches, look at Stanford on the linebacker coach. I told y'all last year when he came in the game, he was like a lost ball in high weeds. He had no idea what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He was never in the right spot. And now this year, every time he's on the field,
He's
he is
making
right where
plays.
he needs to be. It's
Yep.
unbelievable, the development of that kid. And there's more coming. They're putting other guys in there at linebacker, and they don't miss a beat. Their eyes are right. They're reading the triangle correctly. They're taking their steps correctly, and they're triggering when they're supposed to be. And you saw it with York first. York is a guy that's under-talented for his position at this level, but he can still play on a high level because he does things so well cerebral. So A+ to those guys. The secondary guys, man, that's a hard group to coach because they're just different human beings, and they have to be different human beings. They're like the opposite of a receiver. Receivers are like, just give me the ball right now. Well, they're like, I'm going to cover everybody man. Let's play coach. Let's just play press man all night long. That's what they want to do. And to get those guys to buy some of our zone schemes and the level of our safeties and how far they've come. Because nobody's defense in the entire nation is as hard on safeties as Mike Elko's scheme. Hey, we need to play quarters on this side over here and be deeper than the deepest and read 2-1. Oh, and on this play, we're going to need you to spin down and play the B gap. And on this play, we're going to need you to spin down and blitz off the edge. And all of that stuff that they throw on them, and those guys are starting to play at a high level. Not just that, but the slot guys. Last year, covering the slot was an issue. We played and our slot coverage would just blow it, and we would give up a big gain and keep a drive going. And this year, we see multiple guys covering the slot, and the development of Chappelle and all he's doing now in that slot stuff is just, you cannot give these guys anything but an A+ right now. And so when things don't go well, when we do have bad games, you don't have to panic.
No, you're right. Well,
You just don't have to panic.
yeah. Well, man, Brandon, I appreciate you joining us today. Hope you enjoyed it. We love to talk ball. We love to break down film. And so it's something we enjoy doing, and hopefully people will continue to subscribe, like, comment, all those things. It's been fun to watch people actually enjoy what we have to say. So I think deep down inside, none of us probably wanted to quit coaching. That's probably something we all enjoyed doing, but it's for those of y'all that have high school coaches, be encouraging to them, because financially it's a tough road to hoe. So appreciate those folks out there. And Brandon, appreciate you joining. This is Tres Amigos signing out. We'll see you next week when we're preparing for Mizzou. Gig 'em and thanks.
Coach
Good.
D.
Gig 'em.
See you guys.
Wait.
Great job.